Hope on the Hard Road podcast, where you and your family can find community, find encouragement, and find hope for the road ahead.
It is a hard road, and it is a road, and it is a journey, and it is a life that is traveled. And I remembered every good and perfect gift comes from above. Okay, let's do this because of Jeremiah 29:11. God's doing something here. He sees her as a gift and he has a plan. And here we go. And it enables me to keep going, and not just keep going like trudging through this hard road, but actually with incredible hope that causes me to not shrink back, but to show up with like incredible boldness and brightness, going like, every good and perfect gift. So here we are. Here she is, world. Let's do this.
Before we get started today, we wanted to take a moment to let you know about some amazing events coming up.
If you're in the San Diego area, you won't want to miss Date Night on February 20th. This is an incredible event designed for caregiving couples to reconnect and enjoy a night out filled with great food, fun, and friends.
On Saturday, March 14th from 10 to 2, we have our Spring Fam Fest located at the picturesque Walnut Grove Park. Families, you won't want to miss this sensory-friendly and accessible event filled with lots of fun games and activities like adaptive Easter egg hunts, photo opportunities, yummy foods, and more.
Ladies, join us for Mom's Day Out 2026 in beautiful San Diego, California. This life-giving conference is uniquely designed for moms of children with special needs and the circle of women supporting them. It is your invitation to step away from the demands of caregiving, breathe deeply, and be reminded that you are not alone. This is more than a conference. It's a reset for body, mind, and spirit. You won't want to miss this incredible conference with inspirational keynote speaker Misty Coy Snyder, creator of Happiness is Down Syndrome, and our fabulous breakout speakers, Jen Jones, author of The Significant Life, Angela O'Brien, host of the Especially Organized podcast, and Kara Riska, host of the Special Needs Mom podcast, as well as our phenomenal MC, Kara Lee, founder of the Well Community for Women. Plus amazing amenities, unhurried time for connection, rest and renewal, and lots of fun activities. And of course, a swag bag you're going to love. So bring your circle of friends, your bestie, a sister, or another mom walking this road with you, and come experience everything that Mom's Day Out 2026 has to offer. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today as we begin our family series with Marcus and Jen Jones. We first met Marcus and Jen a few years ago when I saw an Instagram video of their family dancing, and I reached out knowing that we had a few mutual friends. Then last year, we had the privilege of having them both come and speak to our couples at Date Night, which, by the way, we're coming up on again this February 20th. And now, ladies, I'm excited to share that Jen will be a speaker at our Mom's Day Out conference this May 1st through 3rd.
Marcus and Jen have been married for 25 years and have 4 children. Their oldest daughter has a diagnosis of Down syndrome. They are authors, speakers, and entrepreneurs, having founded, led, and successfully grown both nonprofit and for-profit organizations, with their latest endeavor being the co-founding of the Significant Life Foundation in 2024 to advocate for adults with intellectual disabilities. Marcus is a pastor and leader with over 30 years of ministry experience, and he is currently working as the executive director of His Eyes Foundation to combat homelessness.
Jen is the founder and CEO of Jen Jones Direct LLC and the creative architect of the Significant Conference. She is also a certified health coach, having built a nationwide health and wellness business. Together, Marcus and Jen know what it's like to experience the unexpected and have to grow through life's greatest challenges. This is an honest and beautiful conversation, one we know will resonate with you. So let's listen in to our conversation with Marcus and Jen Jones.
Well, hey, Marcus and Jen, we are so glad you're here. I mean, this year you were at our date night and did just a fabulous job with our families and sharing. And we're really excited to do this podcast with you.
Oh man, it's so good to be with you guys.
I loved the date night. That was so fun. Yeah.
For sure, fun.
We would love to have you guys share a little bit about your story for those that don't know you yet.
I mean, we'll be married 25 years this year. So we do have 4 kids, and our oldest daughter is 21 and she has Down syndrome.
We have spent about 30 years of our life in full-time pastoral ministry. Jen started a business as we were planting a church, and so we built both things together. So we kind of are entrepreneurial type folks. But as Jen was saying, just saying that, I remember thinking back when we first got married, we almost saw kids like accessories.
Whoa! Well, I mean, that's a little extreme.
But to our big dream or plan, whatever. It's like, oh yeah, we'll have a couple kids and all this kind of thing. And there was something so transformational that happened when Addison, our first daughter, was born. It just shifted absolutely everything about our life.
Yeah.
And in ways that reformed what we felt like were important, what we even thought of as dreams, for the future, that sort of stuff. And what's happened over the course of the life that we've lived is this kind of wonderful adventure that we never saw coming, for sure. But as Jen said, we kind of are a bit of a tribe now. And we're just like, you know what? More the merrier. Let's do this thing. And so, we have a wonderful life together.
Oh, we love that. So this is our marriage series, and we are so excited to have you guys talk about that and just what makes a family, and what begins it is how you guys met. What is your love story? We'd love to hear it.
We have 2 different perspectives on that. So I actually had been hearing about Marcus since I was probably 10 years old, because his aunt was the children's pastor at the church I grew up in. In my early 20s, his aunt and his aunt's best friend who said, "Hey, remember that nephew? He's single, you're single. Now you guys are kind of more of age. Do you want to meet?" Kind of on a blind date, really.
I showed up in my Northern California best, doing my, thing. And she definitely had a perception of me that wasn't the most glowing, I think. It's like, it's not me, it's you. And you, I'm sure, have a wonderful personality, but, not really our deal. And so I went away not as successful as one would have hoped.
When I thought he was really nice. And of course, we have these family connections. So I wanted to handle it really well. I wasn't trying to burn any bridges. But I just wasn't sure I wanted to fit in some sort of what I thought was a box of ooh, pastor's wife and worship music pastor's wife. That's not, I don't play the piano. I don't play a guitar. I don't know. Just a picture that I had. But there was a 2-year gap that we never spoke, never talked. And then 2 years later, my life was in a different spot. His was in a different spot. We reconvened again in San Diego. I had to be a little more aggressive because he'd already gone down the road and was she rejected me. So I actually had to say, "Hey, you want to go to lunch?" And then from there, 1 year later, we were married.
You probably were heading down a course, and then all of a sudden you get a child, and in particular, a child with special needs, and that probably changed the trajectory quite a bit. What was your experience like, in those early years, and how did that reshape maybe your marriage and your dreams potentially?
We were completely surprised. We almost lost her, and it was deeply painful. It was a very traumatic experience, and there's no roadmap for it. Nobody handed out instruction manuals, at the beginning, how are you supposed to do this? And so it was utterly devastating. And to be honest with you, I think when that kind of devastation happens, whether it's a situation like the one we walk through, or many people walk through, things that are different, but the explosion or the detonation of such woundedness and pain makes it difficult. You have to navigate not only your own devastation, but that of your spouse, and that can be a minefield for your relationship as well.
We did definitely have a picture of what life was going to look like. Get married. We had just purchased a condo in Southern California, which felt like a really big deal. I had the room all set up. I got a birth diagnosis of our daughter having Down syndrome. So, I had name plastered on the wall with, all these cute little things. And it was like, and this is the right time. We'd been married 3 years. It's like, this is like according to our plan.
Right.
We're living the dream. So when she was born, and then it took 3 days, before she was actually diagnosed, and in those 3 days, I was very much like, Lord, no, God help, like this can't be right, because this was not in what to expect when you're expecting. Like, I didn't read this in the book, and I can't do this. I said this like that. I can't do that. That's not going to work for me. I had no handles for that, no framework for that. Unfortunately, I'd never been in any environments with or interacted really with any people with any form of, special needs or different abilities and all of that. So it was just like, no. And that was where I was at in those 3 days. Marcus, I remember vividly saying to me, you can't leave me, and we got to stick together. And I found that statement so odd because I was like, but in all of his years of pastoral ministry, and then just in his own sort of expertise in these different areas because of what he did for work, he later told me this is one of the number one things that blows up a marriage.
Mm.
And so I'm glad he said that. It was shocking to me. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm just trying to figure out I don't even know what this means for me as a mom and this baby. I don't understand what this diagnosis will represent for this future that is now detonated and this dream that we are living. And this has nothing to do with us is kind of where I was coming from. And he was like, oh, this has everything to do with us. So even that difference caused a little friction and caused some tension in our marriage. I'm glad he was aware, because then it helped me go, oh, maybe I need to pay attention.
Yeah.
We've worked with a lot of people since that time. That was 21 years ago, 22 years ago. The amplitude of your own individual pain becomes so massive that you can't metabolize that. And you certainly can't do that for your spouse. And so it starts to isolate us. It starts to
separate us.
To separate just because of what you're navigating through. So in one sense, it's not about one another, but it becomes about that because of the difficulty and the challenge and the pain. Yeah. And so we actually, started immediately kind of looking down the road a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. And at least for me, that was one of those deals. It was like, okay, there's this cascading issue, and I tend to be kind of futuristic, but it's like, okay, well, this has happened. Now this is probably going to happen, and then that, and you start even borrowing trouble from tomorrow and that attitude right now, and that's super difficult.
The trajectory on going through the grief process, dealing with it. What does that mean next for marriage? What does that mean next for family? Those are not necessarily on the same trajectory. So maybe you can walk us through how, maybe Marcus, you processed it, and then Jen, where you're at, and how did those intersect to the point where you guys both kind of dealt with it and were ready for okay, now what's next in life?
I remember very, very well sitting down with the geneticist on day 3 and them actually bringing to us okay, this is the situation. And the different questions that we asked of the geneticist, I think, were pretty revealing.
Yeah.
I started asking questions about what is this going to mean for her life, and then therefore my life. What's life going to look like when she's 40? I actually asked that question right up front. How is this going to look like in the future as we go down the road? I was trying to see forward and what this was going to look like.
Totally.
And my my interaction with that geneticist was so powerful, and this is actually borne out so true. When I said, what's it going to be like when she's 40? And the geneticist said, oh, Mr. Jones, you'll be a different man then. And that for sure has transpired and taken place. And the truth is that I wasn't ready to fast forward myself 40 years down the line because I was just entering into a transformational process. I was going to be a different man then. And that person would be able to see things differently. That person would have been stretched and stabilized and deepened. But in that moment, I wasn't there yet. Yeah. And so when you don't have those structures built yet, it's no surprise that it's crushing.
Yeah.
And you find yourself kind of caving in over the weight of what you forecast might be. But that's how I tend to be generally in life, as I sort of futuristically and like strategically like look down the road. Jen's experience is different, and she even asked different questions, which I think was revealing of the different spots that we were.
Yeah, I was more concerned about like, what do I do right now?
Yeah.
I'm taking this baby home that is nothing like the baby I thought I was taking home. And so, I mean, I had very like immediate, can she walk? Will she be able to talk?
Yeah.
I was very concerned about, will she have friends? I think that was connected more to my own, are we going to be rejected from the world fear? You know, am I going to get to be a part of this world still? Like, I kind of love life. I have this whole dream of what my family looks like and how we're going to do life and very silly things. But like, I got the right stroller and I have the perfect crib and like the bedding and the decor was for this baby I thought I was going to have. And I mean, some people will probably think, but I even was like, do I keep her name? Because this is not the what I envisioned. I did keep her name, but God really convicted my heart and spoke to me and really used her to teach me a lot about what he deems worthy and the value and intrinsic worth of every human being. And that was part of my transformational journey. But in the moment, and that diagnosis, and it was a lot of questions about what she would be able to do.
Yeah.
And I think that was so linked to my fear about, is my life now over?
Yeah.
And feeling, I was curious, like, am I now just like on some sort of like house arrest? Yeah. Because what can we do? And that geneticist actually said something to me in the midst of all of my questions that were a little more here and now. And she just said she'd been a geneticist for 25 years. She diagnosed a lot of children with Down syndrome. And I know every diagnosis looks different, but for our diagnosis, she said, Mrs. Jones, my experience over the 25 years is if you will take this child home and treat her like the baby you thought you were going to have, it's going to serve her and you best. And she will rise to an occasion more than you even can anticipate. And I know that, it's different for all of us. There's some things that are way more medically fragile that need way more support. But I decided to do that. And did it still look very different? Yes, especially at playgrounds and play dates, and all these other kids are capable of things that Addie was nowhere close to those milestones, but I didn't shrink back and hide her or me. And I just decided, I remember as I took the little baby carrier and crossed over the threshold of that children's hospital after we'd been in the NICU almost a month. And I just remember hearing what I believe is the voice of the Lord and said, now go show the world what I deem worthy. And that's how we've decided to show up. And that's how Addie has lived her life and is now 21.
That is incredible. Really. I just think the trajectory from when you began to where God led you in those early years is incredible. What was it like as the other kids came along? What were those other factors that come to play when the family starts, to become a whole family, and there's so much going on with that. What was that like, that transition for you guys?
Well, I can speak just specifically to, like, we have 4 total, and they're all, like I said, a year and a half, 2 years apart. I just remember my second, who is a girl too. I was like, this is so easy. It actually felt, I was like, she rolls over on her own, like,
Yeah.
and like on time. Like, this is so, because, all the early intervention, and at that time it was home visits. We had a lot of people coming into our home and doing these different therapies and things. And I was just there. I mean, there was a sense of relief, like, oh, okay. I would say adding each kid, sure, represented challenge, just because you're run out of hands to navigate all of the, the needs of, like, 4 kids running around. For me, it was, I think, helpful because it did help me kind of enter and, like, keep Addie in the world, and actually helped. I think it was mutually beneficial to the kids because she picked up on things that they did, and they picked up on things. They grew from her as best I could. I just decided we're going to all be kind of treated the same. And we're going to sort of, they did swim lessons together. They did tumbling classes together. Addie always needed extra support. And sometimes, behaviors and things were off, but having the siblings and going like, nope, this is how we do it was helpful. And so, was it chaos? Yes. Was I potty training 3 kids at the same time? Yes. Like 3 were all in diapers because, she had delays. So she was actually even more aligned with where her 3rd sibling was at. I just sort of was like, okay, this is a tribe. This is what we're doing. I kind of had to put my head down a bit and go, this is just the season of life that I'm in. And we're just going to head down and we're going to do this and it's going to pass. And I don't think I had the mindset like, oh, I'm just going to love every moment. I did not love every moment, but it was more like, we're going to embrace every moment. Yeah. And I'm going to be here for every moment, and knowing that this too shall pass. And that was like early years of how I navigated adding kids. There's been some big benefits to later years and some wonderful things that have occurred over time, but that's sort of like beginning family.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, each kid that we had after Addison was a mixture of joy and anticipation, and then also anxiety and fear.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I remember quite clearly in the delivery room with all 3 of the next kids going, are we okay? Is everything good? Are we going to the NICU? Are we not? Are we, what's happening now? When there was this shift for us because of that traumatic event, in the best way, it reshaped what we really thought was valuable about
yes, life. That's right.
So when I jokingly say we before kids perceived them as like a people accessory to the big vision and plan that we had for our life, and they were just like, yeah, honey, come on, of course, it's like 2.1 kids, and you got the mortgage and the other thing. It went from our plan with people to people are the preeminent value for us, and that's the plan. and so with every kid that came along the way, of course there are the natural challenges that come, as you add the second kid, it's like, okay, here we go. But you add the third and you go from man to zone defense. That's a challenge. Right. And then everybody, I remember when we were contemplating having the 4th and in my mind, absolute final, people going like, hey, what's one more?
Yeah.
So we had the 4th. It was like, well, one more is one more. It's like, wow, 4 was a challenge. It's I heard somebody describe it as feeling like you're drowning in the ocean and then someone throws you a baby.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like that.
Yes.
So there was all of that, like, craziness of the experience. But what had happened because of Addison was a dramatic reformation of our entire value set of what really mattered to us.
Mhm.
The reason that we went from deciding, initially, well, we're just going to have a couple of kids to we're going to build a tribe is because of what was born into us as a core value about people
Mhm.
and the intrinsic worth of people,
Mhm.
of what it means to circle the wagons, as it were, and lean on one another,
Yes.
and depend on one another, and serve one another in the best possible way. That took off the preconceived notions are just sort of blown apart and blown away in the best way.
Yeah.
To say like, hey, there's a new way of orienting to the world, and that's what truly actually matters to us. So
Yeah, I really like how you allow your children to shape who you are as people. And I think that's a powerful thing. You get married, you realize you're a little bit selfish.
Yeah.
You have kids, and now you have this individual, and just throw a special needs child, and you realize just how selfish you are, and how much God uses that to shape you into a person. And like you guys already highlighted, it shapes your value system on what really is important. You got 4 kids, you got careers, and obviously all this stuff is shaping you. How have you been able to balance all these things? Your marriage, your careers, your family, the dynamics of special needs? Balance it, I would say, with your tribe.
I actually don't know if I believe there can be like total like a balance. I think it's more of a rhythm
Mhm.
that we create, and it shifts in seasons, because there has been some seasons that his career needed more time, so I had to be heavier at home.
Yeah.
And that also requires selflessness. So yes, the shaping of having kids is reveals how selfish you are. And then all of the different things, career, marriage, community, all of these things also sometimes reveal oh, I'm going to have this rhythm that means sometimes myself is dying a little bit more than it feels like his self is dying, which is did not come. It doesn't always come as beautiful, easy, but there's tension there. And then there's been seasons that was true for my career. So the rhythm shifts, and he actually started taking on some more responsibilities at the home that was uncomfortable for him, and not necessarily something neither of us really love a ton of the home duties. So, but I think knowing that it was like a rhythm, and kind of going, okay, this is a rhythm. This is not these set in stone, rigid, this is how it's going to be forever, helped a lot, because even maybe that's what helped me just embrace the early years a little bit too, going, okay, there is time coming that someone's going to drive. I have 4 kids. Someone's going to be a driver at some point, and I won't be constantly loading kids in and out and in and out. And remembering kind of what matters most is the people. So I didn't want to tear up all the people to try to create some picture that I thought we were going to have. It was like, okay, the picture is already torn up. Let's just love the people. And also knowing that this wasn't happening to me. That in all of this, God loved me enough and was doing something in me and for me. And so to embrace that. So I think there's just been a rhythm, and appreciating it's going to flex, and the rhythm's going to change. But this is what we're doing, and this is how we're doing it right now.
I think too, the idea or the myth of balance, it's so fleeting. It's like the teeter-totter. It's like when does the teeter-totter actually just make it to the middle? That's not even the point of the teeter-totter. The what makes it fun on the teeter-totter is that it actually is moving.
Yeah.
And what can be kind of it can inflict a lot of shame on people, I think, when they go man, I'm not in the absolute middle.
Yeah.
I'm not balancing the teeter-totter, when that's not the game. That's not the actual point. And so people then feel like they're losing, they're not doing it right. I'm a terrible parent, because we never get to the actual middle. And what I like about the idea of moving away from the expectation of balance toward rhythm is that the very notion of rhythm is supposed to be noisy. We have our 17-year-old son is a drummer. We have a set of acoustic drums in our house. Now, I built a space underneath my house in a shop to try to contain the noise. Like, it doesn't work.
No.
It comes through every wall. It's super noisy, but it's a great analogy of what parenting and marriage in a family, I think, is actually supposed to look like. It speeds up, it slows down, it's noisy, it pervades every space in the house, whether you like it or not. But that's kind of the point.
Mhm.
And the music is made in the ebb and flow and the conversations and the ups and downs of what day-to-day life actually looks like.
Yeah.
And we give and we take. And sometimes this part is louder, sometimes that part's louder, depending on who needs what.
Yeah.
But rather than feeling bad about ourselves, like, man, I'm just not up to this, and I'm not doing it like so-and-so's doing it, or I'm not, their sepia tone world on Instagram looks like they're always crushing it and having this vacation-esque experience in their day-to-day. Like, we're not like that. Is to just say, like, no, that's not the game that we're playing. This is not, we're making music over here.
Yeah.
And I think that's what has helped us kind of break through the self-condemning part that can come with parenting that says, I'm not really up to it because of some myth.
Especially when you, in that mix, is a child with special needs.
Yeah.
It's just like you could live constantly feeling like you should be doing and you're not enough and all of that. And so this sort of idea of rhythm has helped us a lot through the tension of the needs of life.
Oh, I love that. I love that you took that question and just reframed it in such a beautiful way. And it's such a reality for our families. So thank you guys for being raw and real and sharing that. It is such a good inspiration, I think, to a lot of families listening for sure. As you're raising children, what are again, it's sort of like, what's your advice for those that are maybe coming behind you with younger kiddos for, how to build a strong marriage and what does that maybe look like for you guys? And what are the things you do to kind of pour into and bring life to your marriage?
Make sure you're in therapy.
We agree.
Facts, though. I mean, I do think you need a third party professional to process and bring perspective because, as Marcus was saying, the pain quotient individually is so high, and that even ebbs and flows. Like, it's not just at birth. And then it's like, and then when they have to enter into the school system, and then again, when that doesn't work out the way that you anticipated to, and then when they become a teenager, there's a level of some ongoing traumatic experiences. And then when they all of a sudden have some sort of medical emergency and you're back in this hospital that takes you all the way back to birth. And like just these things that are big, like there's ongoing big T's and little T traumas that happen through the course of parenting a child who has special needs. It's just inevitable, physically, socially, emotionally, all of that. And so the pain individually can be sometimes too much to manage yourself. And then I think what happens is then instead of tackling, then that becomes this like problem. And instead of like tackling the problem and attacking the problem together, you begin to tackle and attack each other. Mm-hmm. And that we've had to have counseling. The older she got, and of course there's other dynamics with that whole balance thing of then careers and then other kids growing. And we had to get marriage counseling. And we did both individually and then even together so that we could, have someone just validate. Yeah. This is actually really hard. What you guys deal with on a Tuesday is what a lot of families deal with in 3 months. And that's just your Tuesday, because of some of the needs that are represented in our homes and some of the mental emotional challenges that we go through as adults because of the gift that God gave us. And so, having some validation that this should feel heavy and this should be big. This is big. Mm-hmm. And then also perspective and then also some guidance. So I'll just leave it there so you can talk more. But I do think an outside party perspective from someone who is professional is essential.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that because I do think that you know you sometimes hear marriage advice that talks about make sure that you keep one another as the maybe as the primary priority or whatever in the family. It's like mom and dad and then the kids and I do think that, as Jen's saying, like Addison's unique dynamics in her life sometimes put the emergency, she becomes the emergency that's forward.
Priority.
That is like, okay, we got to deal with this in the urgency of it. And that is something that we have seen transpire over and over and over again. And not always just what we process or what we see. As Addison's gotten older, we're also dealing with how she's reacting to her own sense of loss in certain things. There's certain things that she would desire, that she expresses wants to do, that for one reason or another may not happen the way that she thinks that they should happen. And that's hard. And that's painful to watch her experience pain. But I think that as we're talking about like how Jen and I have I think tried to navigate forward in health, a big part of it has been each one of us individually pursuing our individual health and reconciling some of the things that we personally have to navigate, because Jen can't be the sum total of the healing that needs to happen in my life. I have to take responsibility and pursue that for me. Just like she can't take responsibility to cause me to pursue my faith walk with God. I have to take responsibility to do that.
Yeah.
But I think that one of the things that has helped us to endure, to grow together, has been our decision to say, I am going to pursue and prioritize the healthiest version of myself that I can in my walk with God, in counseling and in mentorship,
community's huge
that I build and cultivate, so that I can show up as a man and the healthiest version of me for my family, for my wife, and for my kids. And when Jen has done the same thing, we're inexorably drawn together as we pursue Christ together.
Yes.
And so even though we've got our own unique dents in the fender, we're moving closer and closer together along the way. And when we have come to places that have been kind of critical or overwhelming, or man, just like we don't know what to do, we call in help. And we don't just isolate and try to figure it out on our own. We're unafraid to fire a flare and say, I'm in trouble and I need help.
Yeah.
And that has been, I think, a very big thing, because pain, anytime anyone, any animal or any human being experiences pain, it is profoundly isolating.
Yeah.
We tend to retreat when we're injured. An animal that gets injured goes and hides in a hole. Human beings kind of do the same thing.
Yeah.
And, but for us, it's like the worst possible place for us to go when we're hurt is to isolate. And so I think that I haven't always done it well. To be frank with you, I think I have found myself isolating a time or two over the course of our marriage, and it hasn't been good. But that's part of what then drives me now.
Yeah.
To be like, hey, how do I go get in relationship, get in community, get in good connection with people? Because what tends to get wounded in relationships also healed in relationship when we move forward that way.
We identify the hurt, and so often the hurt seems like it's coming from our spouse, and it's not. It's coming from the circumstances that God put us in that are trying to shape us, but we also realize that those same circumstances cause this tension that draw you apart, and the counseling piece can definitely bring you together.
Yeah, exactly.
What is one thing you'd like to leave with our listeners that would bring hope for the road ahead.
When it comes to the future, and it comes to like our purposes in life, a lot of people that I know love that passage of scripture in Jeremiah 29:11 that says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." And if we're not careful, that can become almost like a platitude or a bumper sticker or a nicety that goes on the refrigerator, but it's not a deep truth that we hold on to and actually draw sincere hope from. And what I've come to know is that if Jeremiah 29:11 is true for me, it's true for Jen, it's also true for Addison, and it's also true for every human being that draws breath on this planet. God's got a plan, but not just one. It says plans, multiple, plural. There are plans that God has, and they are good plans. They're with positive intentions for a hope-filled future. And it has really renewed my optimism and my sense of purpose. However, it ends up manifesting itself, that there is purposeful intention for every individual, and for a parent of someone with some profound needs in their life, to not just see that situation as it's not supposed to be this way, but instead go, there is in this capsule of this individual, this person that has some unique needs, which, by the way, I've never met a human being without unique needs.
Oh, yeah.
Every single person I know has special needs.
Yeah.
Everyone. That we're all just navigating this life, not aimlessly, that God has a purpose and an intention. And so that even in the midst of things that I don't understand, or pathways that are difficult or challenging, or a future that is unclear to me, it's never unclear to God.
Right.
And he has a good intention and a good purpose. And so I can show up in my everydayness, my right now-ness, and actually be in the moment, as Jen said. Jen's better at the in the moment than I am. But to be in the moment in my everyday and trust that God's got something cooking. He's up to something. And when God's up to something, it's always something good.
Yeah.
That's my encouragement to every person on the hard road.
The day before Addie's diagnosis, Marcus walked into the NICU, and I was just sitting by her little cubicle, and he was like, I have a word from the Lord. And so there was a time he's like, oh, she's going to be healed, or whatever. I mean, which, in hindsight, that's a whole nother podcast, because whatever. But, and he quoted the scripture. It's like, every good and perfect gift comes from above. I think that prepared my heart for the next day when we got the diagnosis, because there was almost like a settledness and a assurance, like, okay, this is going to be hard. This is not what I expected, not what I wanted, not what I dreamed about. But every good and perfect gift comes from above. And while I still had to grieve the dream that I anticipated and thought I was building, and there was grief that had to be processed through, I could actually have some acceptance, like, but this is every good and perfect gift comes from above. So this is God in my life, and this is what he gave me, and he calls her a gift. And I actually even had it tattooed on my arm as a reminder, because over the years, and you guys hope on the hard road, it is a hard road, and it is a road, and it is a journey, and it is a life that is traveled. And there are moments that I grieve again. Something, graduating high school was an incredible wave of grief for me. And I remembered every good and perfect gift comes from above. Okay, let's do this because of Jeremiah 29:11. Like, oh, God's doing something here. He sees her as a gift and he has a plan. And here we go. And it enables me to keep going and not just keep going like trudging through this hard road, but actually with incredible hope that causes me to not shrink back, but to show up with her and to encourage her to show up into the places and the spaces that he leads us to and her to with like incredible boldness and brightness, going like, every good and perfect gift. So here we are. Here she is, world. Let's do this. And that is a hope that keeps moving me forward and, on the journey, and one that I have instilled in her. And I don't care if it's to a fault and she thinks she's just the best thing ever. Like, I'm a gift. Here I come. Yeah, you are. You are. And that's how we're going to walk out this road.
You know, it's real. It's hopeful. It's amazing, you know, just to hear your life story and where you guys are at now. So we love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be with you guys.
Check out the show notes to find resources and contact information for today's episode.
Yeah, and if you like the podcast, please share it with others and be sure to follow us so you won't miss an episode.
We love to hear from our listeners, so leave us a comment or rating and connect with us on social media or on our website at hopeonthehardroad.org.